With me is Cregeen, the chairman of the Post Office. We're up here at your headquarters. The news is being released tonight that Ramsey Post Office, after all that's gone on over the last is it a year now, it was Man and Retail, then it wasn't going to be public consultation, a local group were going to do it. That didn't happen back in August, I think that was, and we're now in October.
Yep.
You had the bids in and it's exactly the same as was.
It's, Man and Retail were the only tenders submitted. And they will be running postal services in Ramsey for us from the courthouse business building, and that will be into late spring of next year, and then transferring the postal services into their building. And we've listened to the people of Ramsey to try and deal with some of their concerns regarding the Spar store. So hopefully we can make some few changes in there so that access and layout would be different.
So the computer generation that was out there, it won't be quite the same now?
It won't be quite the same, no.
Because it was right at the back of the building, wasn't it? People had concerns about that.
And the walkway through, so there'll be changes to it.
But you still have to go past your crisps and your cheesy Watsits or whatever to get to the post office?
Yes, but the layout and the way that and there's access that they were going to address and parking. So those things have been taken into account, and there'll be some changes in there.
Right. Now, we chatted a few weeks ago and you said there were 3 people bidding for this. So is that how it turned out in the end?
No, 3 people put in expressions of interest, so we sent out the pack to them, and we only received 1 tender back.
So they looked at the deal and they didn't like it?
And, well, for one reason or the other, they must have decided that it wouldn't work for them, so...
But also, you put down specifications. You wanted a certain size, no doubt. You wanted this. I mean, really, we've always thought, haven't we, that probably the Spar store was about the only thing that could take it.
I think even Ramsey Courthouse Limited, when they were looking at it, they knew that they would have to have some business alongside it, that it wasn't just going to be a standalone business. And, that may be the issue, that people didn't have that business to go alongside to make it work for them.
There was no way that they could stay in the courthouse? I mean, that was
yes.
their
No. The courthouse building, I made it quite clear all along that the courthouse building was still an option for anybody who wished to run it from there, that they could have done. But I think when you look at the building, it's quite a big building, and to try and fill that, it may have been one of those things that people thought, well, how am I going to fill that space? So
4 members of staff have already accepted terms, is that correct?
They have, yeah.
Out of 8, is it?
Yes, so 4 have actually accepted redeployment, so they'll be working in other areas throughout the post office.
Oh, right, they haven't transferred over. These are people who are staying with the post office.
Yes, so they'll be redeployed.
And the other 4?
The other 4 haven't got redeployment, so there'll be redundancy, but there'll be the opportunity that they could always apply to Man and Retail to work with them if they wish to.
Right, and Douglas has had this transfer, of course.
Yes.
And you're calling it in your press release, of course you would do, seamlessly. I mean, there's no blips, no difficulties?
Was it yourself, Paul, that said, when is Regent Street transferring over to Man and Retail, and it had already been running for 3 weeks? So,
but there's part 2 of that also, because they're moving into the Spar store at some point, aren't
yes,
they?
in the spring, that they'll be moving into their store, but... if you didn't notice it, then
well,
I think that's a positive.
Like maybe a lot of people, I don't use the post office that much these days. I mean, that's been the whole crux of this, hasn't it? That you've seen declining amount of people using the services are available inside a post office physically.
And that's the issue. And the business does diversify in what it's doing, but you do notice that people's posting habits go down. There's internet shopping, and there's all these sort of things that's going on, and it has affected business. There's more business, parcel people on the Isle of Man than there was 20 years ago.
So the business with Man and Retail, is that the same as it was originally, or have you got a new tender in the sense it's changed, and can you talk about it, or is it one of these things with non-disclosure?
Well, the tender that they've put in and the services that they're going to, they will be providing the services that they said they would before. So we're in that situation where they'll carry on running it in the courthouse. They'll have their staff in there, and hopefully we can move things along. And then when it comes down to the transfer, we'll hopefully see the layouts ahead of schedule. We'll be able to say, well, this is where we think it's going to go and how it's going to look.
Somebody say you're lucky they come back, because if you hadn't got Man and Retail, you wouldn't have anyone wanting it basically in Ramsey. And what would you have done then?
And that's a difficulty. And one of the things that we were saying was that this is actually trying to preserve the retail network across the whole Isle of Man, because there's savings of in excess of £300,000 here, and that adds up over the years, and we have to try and keep those services. It's not just a case of Douglas and Ramsey, but there's all the other rural communities around the Isle of Man, plus there's the other services that the Post Office run, that if we continue to have those sort of costs on the business, it does make margins a bit tighter.
How much did it cost you, this whole exercise then in the end?
Well, I think we've nearly lost a year on the Ramsey side, so the Ramsey side's possibly nearly £100,000.
Can you assure us that this is the end of it now? I mean, do you have any more Crown Post Offices to go, or is that it? Is that everything is now transferred?
Well, we had two. That was the two, and it's a name. It was directly employed staff. When you go around the Isle of Man there, I think if you ask a lot of people in their communities, there's not a lot of difference that they see with the staff operating the post office around the island. Are
you happy with the way the government did this in the end? I mean, I know we have talked about this in the past about not the smoothest of exercises here.
Well, the board of the post office wanted to go for open expressions of interest, and we listened to the Chief Minister and the Treasury Minister, and we could understand their concerns, because it was concerns about how the staff were going to be treated, and that is one of our concerns. Is this has dragged on a long time for our staff, and we have concerns about that. But we've got to this position now, and there's certainty out there. We've listened to Tynwald, because House of Keys said stop, look at it. So we've gone through those processes, and
this is it now. This is it. This is the final interview about this. I mean, besides seeing it above a spa store, there's nothing else that's going to happen now.
And when you look at Douglas, Douglas has worked well. That the services still being out there.
But again, how many people had to be redeployed, and how many made redundant in that exercise in Douglas?
I'm not sure. I can't remember offhand how many people.
But people lost their jobs.
There's a number. There's some there's some that have been redeployed. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, this has dragged on for the staff who have been involved.
And of course, everyone has to remember that you worked for the post office all those years ago before you came to MHK. So
And that's one of the things, I've worked in the business, and I want to do my utmost to preserve postal services on the Isle of Man. And with any business, you have to look at what your costs are. And we've had changes across the mail system. So across the whole of the post office, we've tried reviewing all the different areas to try and make it efficient. I have meetings with the unions on a regular basis. Something that I've asked to do is that they actually get to meet the chairman, vice chairman, and the executive all as a group.
Oh, the executive, because we never see the executive, of course. And all these meetings, I've asked for Mr. Kelly for interviews. He's always referred me to you. Do you not think it would be better to have had maybe the man at the helm here rather than just the chairman? I'm not decrying your position, but it's unusual. Mostly when we do these things, we'd normally have the front line as well.
Yeah, and what we're doing across the business is that we've made some changes, and there's different people. Mr. Kelly did turn up at the meeting in Ramsey.
He did, but he wouldn't do an interview. you were left to do that. I mean, I don't know if you want to do them or you're being forced to do it.
No, I'm not being forced. When you get elected into this job, you're elected to do a job.
But of course you're political at the end of the day, aren't you? And that's the thing.
And I'm a representative of the board of the post office, yes. So it's not just me. I can be outvoted by the board. So that is the situation. So as a representative of the board, yes, it's me, and of the post office. It's one of those strange things which is different to when you're a minister of a department. That the minister is the department, whereas you're a representative of the board.